All right, welcome back to the North Florida Wrestling Show. I have a special guest. Some would say the architect of our recent success in North Florida wrestling in the freestyle and Greco area, which has been notoriously a hard spot for us to get going. But I have him on here today, Jeffrey Estrada of Sons of Thunder and Daughters of
Zion. Most people just say SOT and DOZ.
SOT, DOZ, I love it. So let's get straight to it. We're kind of talking a little bit before, but didn't want to spoil it before the video. Where are you from, and how did you get to Panama City? Because you're a transplant.
Do we have that much time?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me see if I can condense this the best. I grew up in a place called Granite City, Illinois, which is about 10 minutes from East St. Louis, so southern Illinois. Yeah. If people ask me where I'm from, I say St. Louis because I can see the arch, but I'm in Illinois. So I wrestled in Illinois. Started coaching. I had a club there for 5 years. I moved from Illinois to Colorado, where I spent 13 years. But the tail end of that 3 years, I went to California because my daughter was wrestling and there was no real girls wrestling. Her name was Jersey. We moved to California to wrestle for 3 years. She was a state champ there for California, a 2-time state champ, and took third. And then she was a 1-time Colorado state champ. And then we moved down to LA her senior year with a guy named Jimmy Medeiros and spent a year there. And then we went back to Colorado and it really didn't feel like home anymore. So on our way to, my family had moved, we moved from Granite City, Illinois to Colorado with my whole family, my sisters, my mom and dad, everybody moved. When we went to California, they moved to Santa Rosa Beach. So on my way to visit Santa Rosa Beach, we stopped in a place called Hilton Head Island and I fell in love. And so I spent the last 5 years in Hilton Head Island. And then about 9 months ago, almost a year ago now, September's a year, we moved because I have 4 daughters, Jersey, Zao, Nova, and Audio. And kind of like wherever our oldest daughter wanted to be a California state champ for girls because it was a thriving state. So we moved to California. Then Colorado made it illegal for girls to wrestle boys in the state tournament. Right. Which Zao would have been a boy state placer there. So we were like, well, I want to find a state. We were headed to Florida. And Florida hadn't built girls wrestling yet still. Girls were still competing in the boys. Hilton Head, she's actually the first boy state placer as a girl for South Carolina. So we moved there because Zao wanted to live in a beach town, wrestle boys. She's a 3-time boy state placer in South Carolina. And so then my next 2 daughters, who is Nova, which is an 8th grader this year, and then Audio is 12. She's a 6th grader. They both wanted to live by their cousins who were living in Santa Rosa Beach.
Cool names, by the way.
Thanks. So I moved to Santa Rosa Beach. And to be honest, I thought I was done coaching. Last year, September marks my 21st year coaching. I had spent 20 years coaching every day, all year round. I usually take a 15-day hiatus after Fargo. I've been to Fargo 15 times, I think. So I've been doing it since I started coaching. And I do coaching as a living. I'm pretty good at woodworking when I want. I'm a carpenter, but I don't do that unless I really am desperate. Yeah. But I do wrestling. So when I moved here, I really didn't think I was going to coach anymore. I kind of thought, well, you know what? I'll jump in, help a high school. Somebody's got a program. I'll do that. Yeah, and so that's how I ended up here. Was moving from, like I said, I started wrestling myself in Illinois. I was a 3-time Illinois state qualifier, never a placer. And then 5 years later, I started a club with 2 brothers. And from there, that was Sons of Thunder. From there, we went 5 years. We won IKWF. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's the Illinois Kids Wrestling Federation. It's the biggest federation for kids wrestling in all of America. They have their state tournament is bigger than 90% of most state high school tournaments. 2 high-rise mats, a whole stadium filled. We won back-to-back dual-team state titles. I had 15 state champs in 5 years, but I couldn't get hooked into a high school. Illinois is really hardcore about Fargo, too. So I was one of the ocean. As you can see, I live in Santa Rosa Beach, right by the ocean. I got all the way to California and the water was cold. It never got warm. Then when we got to Hilton Head, it was beautiful. The water was warm, but it was brown water.
That's in South Carolina?
Yeah, in South Carolina. It's the tip of South Carolina. Like Myrtle Beach is here, and you scoot over, and it's Hilton Head Island. And so it was awesome. We had a lot of good things happen there. But like I said, my last 2 daughters really wanted to live by their cousins. And I was just kind of tired. I didn't know, like I said, I've been doing it 20 years, nonstop, Fargo, everything, little kids to older kids. I kind of run a program from 4-year-olds to 20-year-olds, you know. So that moved me, just kept me going all the way to California, all the way to this side of the country. Got me here. No, I can't, man. Really what happened was I met Preston and Koa and these guys.
Those guys over there?
Yeah, I met Andy Siegel called me up and asked me to run a clinic. I had met a couple other people, kind of interest was sparking, but I came in and ran a clinic with some kids that had went to Fargo, but they didn't do too well. And they were really...
Oh, and that's what happens. Yeah. You start helping out a little bit, and then all of a sudden something happens, you're like, oh man, I care.
Yeah. I latch on to kids.
That's what happens.
You know,
the same thing.
I see it. I'm like, they could do something. This kid can do something, and he hasn't done it yet, so there's some missing component. Am I the missing component? Let me try.
Absolutely. Like, well, I would say the worst that's when you get super invested. And that's the same thing with like the program too. That's why it was hard for me to like step back from Niceville, because I've been with the program for about 3 or 4 years and then helped the high school for the last like 2 years. And I'm big on like developing culture, getting it going in the right direction, like making sure the kids are hearing like the right things, not just like about how to succeed on the map, but like how to succeed as a person and like giving back to the community, like growing it. So then you start seeing them like kind of change, you know what I mean? You start having these conversations with these kids and you're like, oh, you have grown up so much. And it makes it hard to step away. But
yeah, for sure.
How did you get back into it to this level? Like, so you're talking about Preston and Koa, like what's that story? Bridge that gap from just helping out to like driving back up to Fargo.
Well, we ran a camp, and that camp went really well. And there was 5 kids in there: Koa, Preston. Let me think who else. There's JP. There was Crilly. There's 5 or 6 kids that really wanted more. And so, as far as Fargo goes, like most people don't really know. They're kind of like wondering where I'm at, why I'm here. When at Fargo, they see me with I'm the president of South Carolina USA Wrestling right now. I am invested in South Carolina because when I got there, they took 7 kids to Fargo. They hadn't had a placer since I think 2004. And the first year I came, we had 5 All-Americans. And my daughter was in the finals. So, since then we built it up. This year we took, I think, 56 kids to Fargo. We had, 1 All-American, which was our lowest since I've been there. But last year we had 7. We broke the state record. So I'm still invested. South Carolina is close enough that it's something that, and especially us being in the Panhandle, I can take kids over to South Carolina. South Carolina kids can come down here and train with me. So, no matter what, I was still invested with South Carolina to go to Fargo with them and help them out. I still had Montero Royals, who took 2nd at Fargo with me last year. I do these death camps right before Fargo where kids come and live with me for 21 days, 30 days, and prep for Fargo. It's kind of isolated, only training all day long, you know, preparing them for that March. So I already knew I was going to finish out 1 more year. I kind of was like, I'll just chill. We'll just wait till summer comes. I may go back to South Carolina a little bit, bring them down here. I don't really know what I'm going to do. But when I met Preston and Koa and all the athletes that were there training at the time, they kind of had like not a club, but a club. They were running out of a jiu-jitsu gym. And it just kind of like every opportunity kept presenting itself. You know, Bear's dad was like, hey, you want to run club? 2 days a week. Sure. Okay. I'm pretty upfront to everybody. Like my time is very valuable. I feel I built a really strong resume in what I've done, so I feel like my time's valuable. So I just laid it out and said, hey, it's going to cost me this much to drive an hour down if we can get this many kids. And everybody came together and kind of said, yeah, that's worth it to us. We don't really have a full-on club coach, you know, that's this dedicated, that goes to these events, Super 32, that goes to, you know, World Team Trials. Then, so we're kind of like, okay, let's do this. Out of nowhere shows Jasper Crew. Right? His dad drives him 2.5 hours down to from Tallahassee. And this kid's like, wants to wrestle me every day. He wants to wrestle everybody in the room. He wants to be the best. It really takes something like that I'm like, okay, what do I want to do here? What do I want to invest my time? What do I want to put in? Well, Tallahassee has 4 or 5 guys that really want to be good, right? And again, I tell everybody all the time.
And girls.
Yeah, and girls. They have it's funny that you say and girls because people don't really realize that Like, I'm just as good at folk style and I'm just as good at boys as I am girls. They don't know my history of that. I ran in Colorado for 10 straight years. I had a school that was a K through 12. It was an actual school. Kids came to school. We had teachers. It was 60% online, 40% offline. In that, we produced 7 or 8 world team members. We were doing boys and girls. My preference is to coach boys Greco. That's my preference. But I'm just as good at folk style. I tell people all the time, God gave me 4 girls, so I had to get good at freestyle. Yeah. My preference is men's Greco, and folk style is a job that pays my bills. Right. And so I do all 3. I give my best about it. But there was this, I just saw these groups of kids that wanted more. And unfortunately, most clubs are ran off a very small budget. The coach works a second job. I don't work another job. I coach wrestling as a living. That's why my fees are what they are. I charge every trip. And you either want to be that good and do it. I'm being so blessed in Colorado. I was an hour from the Olympic Training Center. When I saw athletes show up that were 15 years old and their parents were dumping every dime they had, I was dumping every dime I had into my own kids. Both my daughters are Fargo champs, 4-time finalists, my oldest daughter, 3-time finalist, my second daughter, because of COVID year. That formula was not just my practice plan, me teaching. It was multitudes of money I dumped in. I took my kids to Germany. I took them to Sweden. That wasn't on for free. I had to pay just the same as every other parent. The difference is my kids were getting the instruction for free, right? So I think just the fact that I saw the need of the kids and the parents that are willing. I always explain it to everybody. It's a triangle. Parents, the athlete, me. If we break any part of that triangle, if the parents aren't invested, it's not going to work. If the kid's not invested, it's not going to work. If the coach isn't invested. And so I don't knock other coaches. I just say this is my full-time job. If you're willing to risk what I risk every day, waking up saying, if these kids aren't successful, I'm probably not going to feed my family. If you're willing to risk that, quit your job. Do it. You'll probably be as successful as I will. Anybody can be this successful.
Well, and like you're saying too, it's not qualifying 3 times in Illinois. It's definitely a good wrestler.
Yeah.
But it's not like you said, you're not to that level that you want, but you're much better of a coach than you probably ever imagined.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like at times it's usually like those wrestlers that didn't succeed to that level that they want to continue improving. And they know all those little things, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's that thought of, it's the same as a father. I want my children to be better than me. I look at these guys as kids of mine, like adopted children. I want them to be more successful than I was. I never was a state champ. I never was a world team member. I was lucky enough as a sophomore in high school to go to the world tournament because at the time they had it in Illinois and they allowed Team Illinois to take a team, and I was a good Greco guy, so I was able to go and experience that. But there's nothing. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I can't say I would know. State champs could tell me, but man, the satisfaction of getting a kid to succeed in their goals seems to be as equal as winning yourself.
I mean, I won one, but I'm more proud that I got my first kid to go to college and wrestle.
Yeah.
He's going off, and I'm super proud of that. And that's where I want to guide these kids too, because I wrestled a year in college. I was a starter, but I couldn't get it done on the other part, just like you're talking about that triangle of school, personal life, wrestling. I wasn't able to manage that, and I was done after a year. I'm I want to see you finish all 4 or 5 years and then come back with that much more knowledge and then invest in my program. I'm excited that next year I'll have to start a college class.
Club, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's the type of stuff I get proud of. That, my medals are on here, collecting dust somewhere. I don't know. I guess just a medal at this point. But you're right. If you're the good, that type of person, watching people succeed, no matter what school, club, wherever they go to, that's more fulfilling.
Sure.
So what's the focus on freestyle and Greco? Everybody's got their thing. We definitely need someone that's focused full time on freestyle and Greco and the panhandle. But what drew you to that more than folk style?
Well, everybody does folk style. And I was always taught to have a niche. I played music for probably 10 years of my life.
You look like a musician.
Yeah, I was a singer.
Yeah, when you say you're from Cali, so I'm it looks like
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I adapt to wherever I'm at, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I played music. I was a musician, a singer for about 10 to 12 years of my life. So I was always taught have a cool band name. Make sure you have and so I think that you need a niche if you're going to make a living out of this. And so when I looked across the land, I love Greco. So I don't forsake it. It's like the gospel of Greco. I tell people, it's like you can't forsake it. You don't look at other styles. Then you may do them, but you don't look at them. Greco has to be done all year round if you want to be good at it. And I'm kind of I think about things in a mathematical form of like, okay, everybody does folk style in order to, and then that transitions to freestyle well. So then everybody doing freestyle, it's really hard to become a freestyle world team member. I've only been around like one or two in my lifetime. I've had a few take second at freestyle. Jace Lu Chow, I coached with and helped out Richard Figueroa a little bit, who's at ASU. But Greco is so, people are going to get upset probably, but Greco is not very good in the United States. We're sending folk style guys to the world tournament in Greco because they're just gritty and grimy. They're tough. They can grit it out, but they won't bring home a world championship, right? So I see Greco as something that's a niche that I can buy into. I love it, so that's a bonus, and nobody does it. So, and again, like I said, I'm not making a lot of money on Greco, but it's my passion. So if I can put it together with some folk style, we have Sunday Greco and freestyle all year round. We roll Sundays to keep kids sharp on it. I mean, I hope everybody can see that the kids that I took to Fargo did better in Greco than what they previously did. The freestyle as well. Koa, he's a great example. I don't necessarily believe he loves Greco more than the other two styles. That may change, but what did he do the best? Yeah. Because the Greco I'm teaching is pure Greco, so he's able to pick it up, and everybody else is doing American Greco. Hold position, don't wait for the parterre. Well, what if they don't put you in parterre? Yeah, can you lock a guy up and throw him? When you feel those hands locking around your back, okay, here we go, we're going to throw. Someone's getting thrown. It's a 50-50. Everybody's scared of 50-50s. I teach everything from 50-50. That's the difference of my Greco and everybody else's.
See, that's right.
I teach lock and load. It's old school. It's Illinois style, I think. They're pretty solid too with gut wrenches. I like that style. We're pretty solid with gut wrenches. But so I think just naturally, my high school was big in the Greco. I wrestled in junior high 7 matches. My dad said, hey, they got this club. You can go over here and wrestle. And I was like, I did a little, but they were still doing kind of like some folk style stuff. Then my 8th grade year, I wrestled and I thought, I love this. This is awesome. I want to go to the club and do freestyle and Greco. I walked in and they were stooping people on their head day one. I got stooped by high school guys and cried. I was like, what is going on? This is crazy. But I fell in love with it. My coach said, you can be good at it. I quit playing football. And you should just wrestle and you'll be good. And I was like, okay. I was a freshman varsity starter. I took 4th sectional, so I didn't qualify. I would have qualified all 4 years, but had a tough guy who ended up being a state placer beat me. But every summer and freestyle Greco was just what made us, our coach preached it, as a gospel, like I said.
I had somebody explain this to me about like Greco, because like for the longest time I would be like, Greco's like the 3rd style, right? Yeah. Or like at least on the American thing, and then on the international stage I just assumed it was 2nd. Someone actually put it way in perspective. Nick Alvarez, who coaches down at Florida Christian School, if you're ever down there, you love him, big Greco guy too, has the same t-shirt. I
might have got it from someone.
Yeah, he was at Fargo, so you might have crossed paths with him. But he's like, honestly, the way it is like Greco is people's number 1 style around the world. And if you're not good at Greco, you do freestyle. In America, it's the exact opposite on the world stage. If you're not good at freestyle, you end up going to Greco. And that's why I think the girls' Greco is really going to help bring the popularity here in the United States. I think we're a bit ahead of a lot of the other countries. Right.
I've talked to a lot of people from overseas, and the only issue I see with women's Greco is that it's the most popular in countries that don't allow their women to do
anything,
right? And so that's what it's going to be the barrier, right? But I think that if we don't push women's Greco, we're going to lose it in the Olympics.
It makes it easier for us to go out there and dominate. And then I think that's the big thing. Once we start bringing home medals in any type of form, I think that's when we're like, oh, Greco's cool now, because you have. Like, I'm sure Kenny Blitz could go out there and drop bombs on someone.
Oh, man, could you imagine that?
Double
Curtis
champ.
being like, lock him,
double champ 2024, why not, man?
That'd be so cool.
I think that's going to be a huge part of the growth of that, is getting that in there.
Yeah, well, what's funny, too, is what you said about America, we do freestyle, and then if you're not good at it, we go to Greco. The thing is, if we even did that, if we said at 18 years old, look, dude, you're not going to be successful in freestyle. I'm sorry, you're like 17th on the ladder at U17. You're not going to.
And you got
go to
yeah.
What happens is though they wait until they're so old that they burned all their lifeline. And I believe in match count. I believe in life match count. I believe you have everybody has a certain match count. You got to be careful. You got to watch it. You can push, some people can push thousands of matches. Some people can't. But we got guys that want to transition when they're 30 in the Greco. We just need we need people to be real about it. Like, hey, kid, you're naturally good. Everybody that's with me right now loves Greco. They're naturally good at Greco, and they're going to succeed in Greco. Preston's going to a Greco college, right? That was only because I presented him with the option to do it. If more people would present the option, they would see more kids do it. And that's our problem. Nobody's presenting it because they don't know it. They don't want to take the time to learn it,
Well, I love that you're doing it year round. I never understood the concept of like, oh, it's freestyle and Greco season. It's like, if it's something that you want to get, like, offer it year round. So the kid, like you said, shark eye, right?
Yeah.
I offer folk style year round because I want kids to get better at folk style, right? And I have a chance to go, but I also push them like, you should be learning freestyle year round. I push grappling year round. Anything that puts you on the mat in a different type of like situation. But then again, too, if that's what you gravitate to, then you don't have to wait 6-9 months before you can like practice Greco for real.
Well, we're taking a team to Sweden in November, and we do Greco only for boys and freestyle for girls. And they're pretty cool. It's 17 below our U17s, but if you're 18 or 19, you're wrestling senior level there. And so I believe in presenting them with those options. And
see, if that was available when I wrestled in North Florida, I probably would have been doing that. Like, I didn't start wrestling freestyle Greco until I moved over to Jacksonville area, to where Swanee's at.
Okay.
Then that was just because I had the option to go down south. My dad had the option to start reffing freestyle and Greco, and it's like, I would much rather go to a folk style tournament, but I'm like, oh, you mean I can get like 8 matches, 9 matches, and then it made me better, It made me a much better wrestler. But you're making me beat these kids in North Florida. It's so good, and I appreciate it. Honestly, it's nice seeing that it's getting, 3 people All-Americans from area. I don't think we've had one before. So
and I was still a little sad. I think there was some more that could have. I just didn't. Like I said, if I came into this thing with my warrior mentality, I was just kind of tired, and I didn't know. It wasn't until January that I really started being like, oh my God. In January, I was going down to Tallahassee and running a club there one night a week. And then I was running 3 days a week in Panama City. And so it wasn't until January that I really started being like, all right, this is it. I do these evaluations of my life and of what I'm doing in wrestling. And I think I always commit. Like, I'm committed to putting together a 5 to 10 year plan in Panama City. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And so I really wasn't at that place. Like, when I went to Hilton Head, I went there knowing, like, here's what I'm doing. I'm going there. I'm going to put 5 years into it. I'm going to get on the board. I'm going to become a part of this. I'm going to raise up champions. I didn't think that coming here. I was like, I'm just going to float in the water and just see what happens. Right. And so now I'm kind of like, after we went through this summer, I'm probably harder on myself than I should be, but I'm like, man, I should have had 5 or 6 placers. I should have had a little bit more. Jasper was right on the cusp. And a lot of it has to do with, again, I look at everything mathematically. So I'm like, we missed this tournament. We didn't. Usually I go to 5 regionals. This year we only went to 3 because of resources. My van, I have a 15-passenger van that wasn't ready, so I had to charge more to rent a van. And so it was just a lot harder than what I usually have to have. And so I look forward to what we're going to do even coming. Like, I just ain't never satisfied. I know what we're going to do.
That's the problem. People like us.
Yeah. I mean, they had a great tournament. LaFountain put on a great tournament at Mosley. They said that was the first one really that was a freestyle Greco tournament. I think it was 80, 90 kids. It was really a good tournament. And like next year, that weekend is a Memorial Weekend. I got 20, 30 kids from South Carolina that are going to come down. We're going to do a little camp around it. We're going to build that tournament into, I have a lot of faith in that's the one thing I have a lot of faith in LaFountain and Deaton as far as they want to see growth. Right? Sometimes you want to see something happen, but you just don't have the resources or someone to drive.
I think we've always had the resources. Oh, I know we've always had the resources. I just think in last like 10, 15 years in North Florida, like collaboration has become a lot more commonplace, which is what we need. Because in North Florida, we don't have the numbers. South Florida, they have so many people that like eventually the people that they need come in. In North Florida, we have to really make use of our resources in order to grow. And I think we're on the right path.
Yeah. And I'm a road dog. Like I said, there ain't no, you know, I don't know if you know Jonathan Morrison, but he's from down in Jacksonville. He was coming down one day a week, coming down here and training, you know, like we'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes for this area. I'll drive 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever I got to do to make it grow and get people, you know, I'll put them up. I mean, a lot of these guys come and stay at my house on the weekends when they need to get training sessions in. Like, I'm committed as it comes, you know.
Well, before we send it, what do you got to say to the North Florida wrestling community?
About what?
Just about anything.
About anything?
What do you want to send them on? What do you want to leave them on? What's your message to them, your boys, your girls?
I think it's just strive for. I want kids. This is my common thing that I say to everybody. When you come to my club, there was an this is where you're going to end up at. My goal is to get you higher than that. And so just to get everybody to get their head outside of the box. I only had one incident in my life where I had a kid that was chasing a world team. Okay, not everybody's going to be a world team member. We know that. But if they were chasing it, that they didn't become a state champ. And I feel like the number one thing I want to impart to everybody is like state titles will come. If you're trying to be a world team member, if you're going to world team trials, if you're doing all this stuff, it will come. Don't focus just on being a state champ. That's going to eat you alive. Dude, put all your eggs and everything into one tournament. Man, just put your life dedication into, I want to be a world team member, and I'm going to spend the next 10 years trying to be that. If I become a state champ, if I go to college and wrestle D1, folk style either. Like, people, like even freestyle and Greco, like, I'm scared of Greco. I don't want to do Greco. I don't see how Greco. I've been to 5 state tournaments. I've been to Illinois, Colorado. I've been doing Idaho, California, South Carolina, Florida. I coached at Lake Gibson 2 years ago. A lot of people don't know that. I coached Christian Pretwell. I was one of his but Lake Gibson took me in. I mean, Coach Walker that's another one who saved my life. I was not wanting to coach anymore before that year. And he was like, took me in I just worked out. I ran club and I worked out and I felt like, oh my gosh. That's a program I tell anybody. If you can get a weekend to go down and just work out with those guys, you'll see a culture. Coaches, go sit under Coach Walker. I sat under Coach Walker for a year and saw my life grow. I was like, it was so amazing and so awesome. So I just want people to understand that you gotta be willing to do everything. Greco, how many headlocks I've seen win a state title? Kids going for their I've seen at least 10 fourth-timers going for their fourth title and lose by a headlock or a throw. Why would you say Greco isn't beneficial? But Greco is the only one that benefits everything, right? And so I would say every kid should do it, even if it's an 8-week course. Even if you just take your club and say, we're going to do folk style 10 months out of the year, but for 6 weeks, we're going to do only Greco. And we're going to get a curriculum from Coach Estrada. And I'll give that to anybody. I just want it to grow. I want coaches to feel comfortable to come to me and say, hey, I want to come and sit in your practice for every Tuesday for a month and see how you do things. Go ahead. I want it to grow. I have my club, but I also want to grow North Florida. I want to grow all of Florida. I want to grow all of the region. Our region struggles. We're a struggling region. How can we grow the region? Like a vision bigger than what you are, and it's what you want to be will become. I promise. I've never not had it happen. So.
Well, man, I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you sharing it. But you're definitely passionate. I can't wait to have you back on.
For sure.
To talk more with all these crazy people in this place.
Oh, it's going to be a good time. We're going to have a good